It's crazy,
Are you
man.
connected
Forget
to
it right now.
Budget's
This
coming.
Danny Dahl, that's
Thursday.
they're all the ones hard to get.
It's a public one.
Yeah, but it's not working.
I'd like to call this stated session of City Council to order. Please rise for the invocation, followed by the pledge of flag. Tonight, we pray for guidance to satisfy the needs that need to be met during this meeting and strengthen us to make the tough decisions. Guide us that this meeting can be productive, let us be effective and decisive. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
My chair first. Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Mr. Milan?
Here.
Mr. O'Connell?
Here.
Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Sultana?
Here.
And Mayor Panto?
Here. Move on to approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve, and is there any discussions or removals or deletions or additions? Roll call.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
And Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Action on our minutes of our stated session of June 22nd.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Additions, deletions, corrections? Roll call.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Tonight we have recognition of two firefighters that are credited with saving the life of an individual. They're all here, a lot of this whole platoon, but let me tell you this, we're just singling out these two firefighters, but we could single out every one of you. You all do a great job, you're very professional, and at some time in your career, unfortunately, you're going to also have to save somebody as well. We just came through a weekend where our police officers also saved someone. So we want to pray for our first responders and hope you guys are safe. But tonight we're going to call up firefighter Jason Hartpence and firefighter Curtis Williams for recognition. Come on up, gentlemen. Chief, would you like to say anything?
So these two individuals were on duty at the time, not too far from the firehouse. They got a call for possible cardiac arrest. They did CPR. They used the AED, and they resuscitated the victim successfully. The victim is still in the hospital, but is expected to recover.
That's great. Guys did a great job. We do have something for you, but obviously because we did this so quickly, it didn't come in yet. But you will have something, as well as something more importantly in your personnel file. Yeah, something personal in your personnel file. That's probably more important. But I want to thank the gentlemen who are here on the same platoon, as well as the same department, because you back these people up. And I always say, I'm destined one of these days to need your help, and I know that you guys will respond. So I'm very proud of you, all of you. So thank you very much. Anyone like to say anything?
Yes, I just also like to echo what the mayor said. No one goes into the job without knowing they may have to save a life. So we appreciate your stillness on this and going forward. Thank you very much.
I just want to say thanks for your heroic efforts, guys. The city's very proud of you, as all of us on council are too.
I just want to say I think one of the things that goes unnoticed is the rate at which you guys respond, and having a professional fire department allows us to have a response rate 3-4 minutes to almost any place in the city, and I think that kind of goes unnoticed, and I think that's something that should be recognized, and how fast you guys actually get out there and are on scene, because in this particular case, it was probably a big deal, you know, and so I want to thank you both very much for all of your work. Thank you.
Yeah, I really want to thank everyone because I was at the scene and I talked to a few of the police officers and they told me there are already 35 police officers out there and taking care of the crowd. I'm really proud of you. Thank you so much for all your work. Appreciate that.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your service. Unfortunately, I can attest to your service because I was an EMT back in the day. I retired, So to have us save is actually very rewarding. So thank you so much for what you guys did, and thank you for your service to the city. We appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Chief, thank you.
Congratulations, guys.
Congratulations. Public comment on any agenda items. The agenda items are listed on our agenda. There's some resolutions under new business. We will be doing other things, a report of the committees, et cetera. So if anybody has anything to say, please come up, give your name and phone number, or name and address, and you get 5 minutes. Louis, does he want to speak?
John Marcus, come in.
That was yesterday. You can come up to the microphone and say, we're under public comment right now, Ms. Reed. How are you doing?
No,
Well, you got to use the microphone because we're being streamed live.
And I need your name, address, and 5 minutes you have. I need your name, your address.
Address 158 East Klein Street.
158
158.
East Kleinhahn.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, right over there. How are you? How you been, Lorenzo?
All you people in here is my friend. I don't need a mic. I need this. Just this. Now, I see a lot of wrongs going on with young people today and lawmakers. Not just this man. This man have his hand full. I've been in this town since 1979. A resident here since 1980. I start work here in 1982. I have my share. They have their share. But life goes on for everyone. Now the things with people and kids today, it takes 2 people to make a kid. It takes a village to raise them. Now it starts from right in the home. Doesn't matter how much police you have out here. You know what happened today? A sell your phone. The police is right here. Something is going on right down there. What's going on down there? There's somebody up there know what happened. Somebody over there know what happened. Hey, the police is coming. Move. Stop. Nobody speak. Nobody want to say anything. Now, I think the parents should be held accountable for what going on. Because the parents don't teach the kids. From childhood, you're supposed to have them from childhood. Don't you spare the rod and spoil the child. It's in the Bible. Everything comes from the Bible. Without the Bible, this world is just like this. If people live within the Bible, there would be no war. Although it's in the Bible, say you're going to have war, because war was there from the beginning. But what happened? People stray. People took greed. Now, to what I even see going on just right here, just the other day, I come here, I think 2 months ago or 3 months to pay my bill downstairs. And I asked the lady down there if my good friend was there. She said she didn't see him. I walk him up anyway to see, to make my suggestion. My suggestion is when you caught these kids, you're going to put them in jail, you're going to feed them. But what about you or we as adults? We're supposed to do our share. So you know what I said? My suggestion is you take them right onto the street and you flog them. Bare butt. Somebody who don't like it, you find them. They say over 10 words, you find them again. No, we have to set an example. I know a couple of you guys I can see a couple of you guys in here older than me. There's 2 right there. September 71, here's the 3rd.
I'm older than you. You know me, Lorenzo.
When I was 7 years old in Jamaica, I have a nephew. That's my mom's sister's son. Everybody thought he was a mute. And the first word from his mouth, from me, was a curse word. And I learned my lesson from there. My grandfather used a bullwhip You know what's a bullwhip? A piece of leather tie on to a string. He called me and he called me when I was running to him. He just draw that thing out. Wow! Right across my behind. I have the 2 mark to spare and tell people and show people if they want to see. And guess what? My nephew speak that morning. I run to the old house because not running water where we live. When I run there and I sit down, I run right back to my grandfather, straight to him, and I was telling him the same word what I have my nephew say. And he get a lye, a brown soap, and stick in my mouth. And he wash it off and throw salt water in it. That's something I'll never forget. I learned to respect people. I learned to respect myself and respect other kids. But I was like L too. I learned to fight from my grandmother. Now they have men who use stick. And they have women who use stick too. They used to call my grandmother the queen of stick.
Sir, your time's up then.
She never afraid of no man. And a lot of men afraid of men because you have men with razors and men with stick. And my grandmother said, when I feed you, or you go out there and the kids beat you, and you don't beat them up,
Sir, your
don't
time
come
is
in here
up.
crying to me. And every time I go, there's a lot of, it's like close family. Our family mixed with family and things like that. So in one family, we have like 6 or 8 of them.
Mr. Williams,
6.
your 5 minutes are up.
Okay, I never know you have 5 minutes.
You got a lot of work to do at home.
Anyway, they need to, when they do take those kids, they need to flog them. If they don't like it, have the parents flag them right out in the street. And if you want to give me the job to flag them, I'll do it.
Thank you, Lorenzo.
Good people,
You're
have a nice day.
You're a good
Good,
person.
thank you.
And
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Lorenzo has a home on Klein Street that he maintains all the time. Cleans,
Always working.
cuts the grass, plants the flowers. Good job on your house.
Yeah, you're always working there.
Anyone else have anything to say? Public comment, 5 minutes. Anyone else? Moving on to consent agenda. There's no consent agenda. We'll move on to reports of the council. I will receive the fire department report for June 22nd, 2022 from the fire department, and reports of committee, finance committee, Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. We did meet last night in committee. We went over the June report dated year to date, and also we went over the Keystone report that they sent to us. We still have, council still has some questions on that, so we will be talking about that again very shortly thereof. I do have this evening a resolution going forward for the new Easton credit card, and Mark will be going through that with us. But before Mark speaks, I'd just like to speak on the elephant in the room here, so to speak. I fielded a lot of calls, emails, text messages in reference to Heritage Day. I had an opportunity to speak with the chief today, and I understand how delicate the word is right now in this atmosphere that we're living in. I just wanted to be clear that myself, my wife, we both experience, it's ironic though, on 2 different streets. I got several calls about bikes in the streets, motorbikes in the streets, and so I went and checked it out myself on 3 occasions on between 9th and 10th of Ferry Street. And I turned that information over to the chief, and my wife experienced the same thing on Washington Street on 1100 block. So these things are happening. They're not made up, and although I think we might have used, and I say we because I'm a part of, I think we might have used the wrong word because it's very sensitive right now. I think we still are doing the right thing. So I just wanted to say that, and I know that there'll still be conversations to take place. That's my report.
Well, speaking of that, we do have a meeting on Monday, is it? Monday, 9 o'clock.
Yes. So, just thank you, Councilman. And just so I can add, because I did share this with you, regarding Heritage Day Festival and what took place, and then more moving forward, you know, chief's expression of, you know, his role in enforcing the security here in the city of Easton. We are going to have a conversation with the NAACP. Josh Robinson reached out to me today. I spoke to him. Certainly, you know, certainly there's frustrations on behalf of the police, and that was expressed by the chief. I'm not here to say anything with regards to his statement, other than the administration supports the police department, and that we're certainly, as a conduit to the police department, took that call today and had a really good conversation with Mr. Robinson on how we can continue to have this dialogue and how we can continue, as the gentleman just said, to make sure that all parties are sharing in the responsibility of managing our youth and working with them. So we're going to have I know it's going to be a good conversation on Monday, and it's not, by any means, this is not like the start of a conversation of anything that we haven't had before, because we've been working with the NAACP, but this is certainly, it's going to be very specific, and I'm looking forward to it. I know the chief is too, and we'll certainly report back, and the mayor's going to be joining us as well, because they've asked for him to be in the meeting, and certainly we're going to be reporting back to city council on it. So thank you, Councilman.
No, thank you, and I thank the chief also for stellar job that him and his agency do.
It was a horrific action that had nothing to do with Heritage Day, but it was an action where too many of our young people are carrying weapons, and they're reverting to the weapon rather than their fists. And the dichotomy that exists is that someone can come to a public meeting and call me a racist, but I think the chief, and if we looked at the entire press conference, the police were being called racist, and that was the issue. And I witnessed it. I witnessed them being called names. I witnessed them being spit at, and I witnessed a very disrespectful group of young people. It needs to stop. The chief and I just attended a press conference up in Allentown about the horrific problems they're having up there with motorcycles, dirt bikes, and ATVs. We're having the same issues. Most of it is bicycles, but there are the ongoing problems with dirt bikes going the wrong way on one-way streets, going through stop signs. I mean, there needs to be accountability when you do something wrong. And right now, the police on Heritage Day allowed it to, even though there's no bikes allowed in festivals, they allowed it because they didn't want to engage and escalate. They're taught to de-escalate. So appreciate Mr. Brown's comments, and hopefully we can work with the community to rid ourselves. I did get calls today, obviously yesterday and today, but that was not part of Heritage Day, and we're already having conversations. We have a meeting set up next week with the Heritage Day Committee, which is sponsored by Greater Eastern Development Partnership, where one of the issues is going to be talked about is we don't have these issues because at Bacon Fest or Garlic Fest because they're over at 6 o'clock before it gets dark, and maybe we're going to have to do that. So we have some ideas of what we can present. I talked about it a little bit to City Council last night, and we'll certainly move them forward. City Council can be invited to any of the meetings you want. We certainly would not going to meet, what we don't want to do is meet with a community group and then have 10 people there from the city and 2 people from the group. It looks like we're trying to overpower them. So I believe we will meet. We'll report back. But if you want to be involved, just let us know. We'll certainly try to get you involved in the meetings. But we do expect to have meetings not just with Josh, but also I talked to Dean Young today. I talked to Lance Wheeler. There's a lot of people we need to have conversations with. Moving on then, Economic Development Committee, Councilman O'Connell.
Mayor, I don't have a report, but I did want to say that last week, thanks to John Kingsley, I had the opportunity to get a tour of the Commodore and all of the construction going on there, and updates on the construction. And in addition to being very informative, it was just great going through the building. And I have to say that the views from the top floor of that building, they must be like the best in the Lehigh Valley. That's going to be a pretty spectacular space when it's finished. And thank you again, John, for getting me through there. It was really enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you for being involved, engaged in that opportunity. Planning and Codes Committee, Mr. Sultana.
I have no report, Mayor.
Public Safety Committee, Dr. Ruggles.
I just wanted to report that we did have a meeting last night and talking about parking, and there is a committee that is meeting and discussing future parking issues, and there's going to be more to come about that. So stay tuned.
Public Works Committee, Councilman Ettinger.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a report. I do, however, have two resolutions that I'll be moving later on.
Okay, thank you. Administration Committee, Councilmember Milan.
I have no report, Mayor.
Report of City Solicitor, Mr. Shear.
I have no report. Thank you.
Mayor's report. I just want to report, we already talked about the issue of bikes in the city. These are brazen youth that are giving us a hard time. They're playing chicken with the buses. I get complaints from Atlanta bus drivers all the time. And the fireworks ordinance will be before you next meeting. I would like to utilize the state law, which now allows us to prohibit fireworks in the city. Not that we're going to eliminate them, but our police will be able to confiscate unused fireworks, so at least we can put a stop to that. Unfortunately, we did not get to repeal the law. The state makes too much money on it. But we also didn't get what I was really pushing for, was to be able to cite the property owner. We didn't get that either. But we have some tools in the shed that we can use that weren't there before. We'll just see what we could do. But I thought the state erred in allowing those cities or those municipalities that don't have buildings within 150 feet of each other, they allowed fireworks up until 1 o'clock in the morning, July 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and December 31st. I thought that was late. We have a lot of people who go to work the next day. They're being awakened. We have people with PTSD. They're veterans. There's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't have fireworks in a community like this. But we'll keep working on with the state. But they did give us a couple of tools. And those tools we will utilize, as well as increasing the fine from $100 to $300. So that taking away $1,000 worth of fireworks and also giving them a fine might suffice. Who knows? That's the end of my report. Mr. Campos?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, what I'd like to do as part of my report, as actually my entire report, is read into the record the results of the report regarding the complaint against the City of Easton and the City of Easton's Department of Planning and Codes. So if I may, I'm just going to read the report into the record, and then after which I could take any questions that you may have. I have a couple directors here as well in case we want to get into a little bit more detail, because I understand that you may want to ask detail. Behind this report, there's a large amount of data that was collected that is not overly explicit as I write this report for several different reasons. But I'm going to read the summary anyway as I wrote it. And let me reiterate too that I provided to council this report yesterday. I also provided, which I'm not going to read into the record, a June 10th correspondence that I sent to the Darbys that explicitly detailed the violations in the code with regards to their floors and the corrections or the satisfaction, if you will. They received a pass from the not they, but the report or the violation received a passing mark after the violations met certain criteria. So and that is to, amongst a couple other items, obtained engineering reports. So that was explicit in that I sent that note to the Darbys, and I sent you all a copy of it. This report doesn't get into that level of detail, as you know, but it does summarize the findings. So let me start. The purpose of this report is to outline the results of an investigation into complaints made at the May 25th, 2022 City of Easton City Council meeting by Sean and Kanisa Darby of Kanisa's The Pudding Bar regarding the business and their residence located at 118-120 Northampton Street. Sean and Kanisa Darby, hereinafter identified as the claimants, assert the following. One, the City of Easton's Department of Planning and Codes, hereinafter identified as codes, was derelict in its duties to provide appropriate code inspection oversight to adequately protect the health and welfare of not only the claimant, but also their patrons. These accusations center primarily around the Codes Department's failure to revoke the certificate of occupancy issued for their leased space due to alleged structural deficiencies affecting the floor. Two, the Code Department showed favoritism towards Post Road Management, hereinafter identified as PRM, in their review of the processing of the complaints and notices of violation received by the claimants. And three, PRM received preferential treatment from the Redevelopment Authority of Easton, herein identified as the RDA, in their actions leading to the disposition of the subject property and in the provisions of incentives to support its redevelopment. First, investigation parameters. In order to complete my investigation into this matter, I worked with various city departments, personnel to gather pertinent information related to the development of 118-120 Northampton Street and the allegations made by the claimants. The investigations examined the following relevant time periods. The period wherein the claimants experienced the related buildings issued outlined above. B, the period wherein the RDA owned the subject property. And C, the period leading to the subsequent sale of the property to PRM. In addition to voluminous record review, collection efforts included more than 20 hours of interviews with related parties in City Hall and at the property site. The following is a summary list of information compiled and reviewed as part of the investigation. A, meeting notes and minutes from the city's redevelopment authority from 2005 through 2016. B, a history of code inspections, violations, and corrective actions from the point of initial construction permitting to present. C, tenant complaints received related to 118-120 Northampton Street. D, individual meetings with related personnel, Post Road Management, and Sean and Kanisa Darby, and their partner, Marco Golubovic. E, City of Easton's acceptable conduct policy. F, the Uniform Construction Code of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, specifically Section 403.85, and that's titled Release, Retention, and Sharing of Commercial Construction Records. All right, 2, investigation findings and summary conclusion. The findings outlined below are provided based on the defined areas of the claimant's allegation provided above. On the matter of city responsiveness to property claims, I have found insufficient support for the claimant's content that the city's Department of Planning and Codes was in any way apathetic regarding their inquiries and notices of violation related to the subject building safety. I identified various complaints filed by the claimant and reviewed their allegations against the code information system. In each instance, the complaint was logged and processed appropriately by the Codes Department. Additionally, as also noted, corrective measures were taken in each of the instances where they were required, and followed-up inspections were performed by Codes personnel confirming compliance. In one instance where corrective action was deemed unnecessary, the city consulted a third-party engineer to confirm their findings. This incident involved the flexing of flooring in the claimant's commercial unit. Following physical inspections of the flooring and subflooring, both the city's engineer and an engineer retained by PRM reached the same conclusion that the flexing was not atypical and did not present a structural integrity issue. Similarly, I have reviewed the claimant's suggestion that the Codes Department has shown favoritism towards PRM in their permitting, approvals, and code inspection process and can find no indication that this has been the case. In regard to inspections and violations since 2016, issued citations were in keeping with city protocol and have received the appropriate response by the department, resulting in the necessary corrective actions. Since 2016, the Codes Department has performed several inspections of the property and has addressed several violations, many of these resulting in the appropriate correction action. As it relates to allegation of favoritism towards the developer and the disposition of the subject property, I found no indication that there was any bias of any kind in this process. The evidence does not indicate that PRM, as the final developer for 118-120 Northampton Street, received any preferential treatment leading to the conveyance of the property via the RDA. The property was the subject of 4 rounds of competitive preferred developer process undertaken by the authority, resulting in the selection of PRM in 2012. I want to make a note to that. This is a slight correction. In the report that I sent to you, I noted 2016, and that's the only change. And so as I'm submitting it, this is the change that I'm making. Prior awardees were unsuccessful in their attempts to redevelop the property, as market conditions at the time in this area of the city were unfavorable. Also, there is no information supporting the suggestion that the developer or anyone associated with the RDA or the city manipulated the process to achieve the final outcome. As it relates to incentives provided to aid in the redevelopment of the property, they were made available via a number of state and federal sources and included the review of multiple governmental agencies. In addition, the developer had to overcome several coincidental financial hurdles, including the ability to obtain private sector financing. Other proposers were not able to meet this threshold. It is important to note that, while not directly related, the conventional lender's review of the developer and this process would have also been exhaustive, requiring additional underwriting and compliance that would further support the wherewithal of PRM to complete the redevelopment of the property, a primary consideration leading to the RDA's award of the property to this developer. Finally, while not specifically enumerated above, I wanted to comment on allusions that were made by the claimants of racism in the city's interactions in response to their inquiries. I want to vehemently disagree with this assertion. I reviewed all manner of communications and correspondence between our codes and planning department and the claimants. In addition, I have, as outlined above, engaged in lengthy interviews with all the codes personnel involved and have identified no instance where they have acted in any inappropriate manner. All of the information that I have at my disposal suggests that communication with the claimants have been timely, professional, courteous, and in accordance with protocol. One issue that was discovered during my evaluation is in regard to the city's complaint portal, where the public has the ability to submit concerns electronically regarding alleged code violation. This resource is not as prominently located as it should be on the Codes Department's webpage in order to allow the public greater ease of access. This will be addressed in a forthcoming website update. Separately, Section 403.85, Release, Retention, and Sharing of Commercial Construction Records of the Uniform Construction Code of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania states, the department, a municipality, and a third-party agency acting on behalf of a municipality may prohibit release of applications received, building plans and specifications, inspections, reports, and similar documents to the public under the Act, known as the Right to Know law. The department, the municipality, or the third-party agency may prohibit release these documents to the building owner of record, the permit holder, the design professional of record, or a third party authorized by the building owner in writing to receive the documents upon presentation of valid identification. As a result of this statute, it is the policy of the Codes Department to not release information to any party other than the landlord or its representatives. Until this investigation, there was insufficient evidence that any detail regarding the violations or correspondence were shared with the claimants by the city or PRM. The claimants relied primarily on their own documentation of issue areas. Nonetheless, lines of communications remained open and suggest that two-way communication, when permitted throughout the duration of these property issues, existed between the city and the claimant. Moving forward, the city and its departments commit to maintaining communication with all affected parties to address any open issues or grievances. In conclusion, it is recognized that the Darbys have experienced a variety of issues that has caused frustration. The city has urged PRM to contact the Darbys in an effort to mitigate any misunderstandings by permitting their tenant to review reports related to code violations and corrections, as well as any study conducted on the structure itself. That concludes my report, Council. If there are any questions, I'll certainly try to address them right now.
Questions from council? Thank you, Mr. Campos. There's no correspondence, that's it. Anything else?
No, that's it.
No correspondence, no unfinished business. We'll go right into new business, Madam Clerk.
Okay. We have bill number 14 being introduced by Mr. Milan, which would amend a section in chapter 285 fees for the code of the city of Easton.
So introduced.
We have bill number 15 being introduced by Mayor Pianto, which would also amend some sections in chapter 285 fees of the code of the city of Easton.
So introduced. Go ahead, Dr. Ruggles.
Just some corrections on that one. The lettering was not lined out and re-lettered after some section or some portions were removed. So like D, E, and F are extracted from the
Right.
ordinance, and so is G. And then
So H would
H
become
should
D.
be D.
Okay.
And
I'll
so-
check with general code on that. I think they may already make the change.
Okay.
Okay, but I'll check.
Wasn't in what I got.
Don't even say it, Peter.
Alphabet, Rita.
I don't think it's, you know, I swear. Okay, I have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Milan, which would approve the labor contract with 447 for 4 years.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion. Just want to mention that it's July 13th. Just want to mention it next time this happens. This is the second time that we've waited months. All the administration did everything we had to do back in February. Just want to make that known. Because I was challenged the last time. It's July 13th. Roll call.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
And Mr. Brown.
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Milan approving a contract with Barbicane, Thornton and Company to do audit services for the city of Easton.
Moved.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion. Roll call. Dr. Ruggles.
I have a hard time voting for this because we just got a update 3 hours ago, and I have not had time to read that revised version. I just can't vote for something that I haven't had an opportunity to read, and it was just really late.
If I may, and Mark can supplement this because he's been the one working with the accounting firm, but I believe there's only 2 changes that were there, and but listen to the 2 changes. One was venue, it said Northampton County per my request, and then had a line right after it about Chester County, so they took out Chester County. The other paragraph, that's the only 2 changes made. The other paragraph had to do with a disclaimer where they would not be responsible for consequential damages, et cetera, which are pretty standard. But they also had a cap that the most they could be subject to would be the refund of their premiums. I had objected to having any cap on the monetary damages. Not only did they wind up taking that out, but whether they realize it or not, they also took out the disclaimer on the consequential damages. So I would really recommend, if everything else that you saw was acceptable, those are the only 2 revisions that were made, and I would jump on that one paragraph. There was third?
You have 3 fingers up.
Oh. But I'm just saying, those are the only 2, and those are things that I pointed out late to Mark. I didn't even realize on the agenda. I think I sent you that email on Monday, but those are the only 2 things. I had a whole bunch of changes earlier on, and they were, for the most part, addressed. But I picked up those 2 things: the cap and the Chester County still being in there. But those are the only things that changed. It's only Northampton County, and the cap is gone. The whole paragraph's gone.
Right.
That's what I looked at it 3 times to see. I asked Mark, am I right? Am I missing something here? But it looked like to accommodate my request to change one sentence, they just got rid of the whole paragraph. If that helps. That's the only 2 changes.
My point is
Two changes.
that we got this revised document 3 hours ago, or less. I think it was 3:30 something that I actually received it in email. It was lucky that I saw it in email, okay? But the point is, we can't function. I mean, my opinion is we can't function as a council by getting something last minute and saying, "Hey, here we got some revisions in it."
Your point is absolutely well taken. That's exactly how I feel when I get these things on a Friday.
No question.
Ditto.
I mean, is this something that we
We
have to have for this?
No, it doesn't need to be approved tonight. Obviously, time is of the essence. But another 2 weeks would not really.
But it's already moved.
Okay.
Like, there's a vote.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
we
I
can
mean, I'm
vote.
sorry. Like, I'm not trying to be,
We-
like,
No, no,
we vote on
fair
it.
enough.
stickler here. Like, there's.
Yeah,
there's-
and my only comment is that Dr. Ruggles' issue is absolutely a valid one, but I would, if everything else was okay, I would take advantage of that
Well,
now.
I mean, I think to Dr. Ruggles' point, I mean, Mayor, I'm going to ask you, can we do a better job moving forward to get stuff to the clerk by the deadline? I
We
think
have a deadline, and
Well, it wasn't there. That was,
this was.
I
this was-
took-
I know, but I think there's a lot of things that, like, we've had, I think just this meeting, I think we had 3 revisions. 3 additions, three addendums. So, I mean, I think we can do a better job of getting our paperwork to the clerk in a more timely fashion. I mean, I get it, things happen late, and I get that, but, you know, I mean, I think we can do a better job as an administration to get this stuff to the clerk so that we don't have to have these debates, and quite frankly, we can have time to review them then. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything nefarious here, I just, you know, to his point, we can do a better job of getting stuff to the clerk, so.
The wheels of government can go slower, but they're going to go slower. I mean, the deadline is Friday morning, and the state law allows us to readjust, amend an agenda up until 24 hours before.
well, the agenda, the item
You
didn't
can set-
change.
You set the agenda, we don't. You set the timeline, rather. You don't.
Who
You
did?
set the time, the city council.
I
It used to be Thursday. It was now Friday when we went to electronic.
No, it's still Thursday at the
still
end of the
Thursday.
day.
About the
Yeah,
end of the day.
it goes out, you do it Friday.
Well, I send it out on Friday, but you got till the end of the day Thursday to get me the stuff, and I need to do the stuff on Friday to get it out on Friday.
So we have it over the weekend. We have 4 days, what, 3 days.
Take a vote?
The motion's been moved to second, so
Yes.
if there's no other discussion, we can call the question.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
No.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Piento?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Ettinger, which would approve an agreement with Flash Parking for the new park system in the parking garage, the new parking garage.
So moved.
Second.
Moved to second discussion.
have a question, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Mark, did we find out how we're going to integrate back to Freedom with this? Like, I asked a question last night, and I think we kind of just
Yeah.
answer it.
Well, I'd say similar to the other systems that we use. It's a download typically that we have. We drop it in Excel. We have quick formatting that we set it up, and we can create basically a journal entry to book it every month.
So there's no, like, API, there's no interface between us and them.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
We can explore it further, but
I mean, I just think it's, when you're,
the manual processes, yes.
yeah, okay, it's fair.
Vote.
Call.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Piento?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
And Mr. Milan?
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Ettinger, giving approval to buy sound system components for the circle. Since they're redoing the circle, it would be a whole new sound system.
So moved.
Second.
Moved to second discussion. Roll call.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Piento?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
And Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Brown, authorizing the administration to move forward with a credit card application through the Pliget.
Pliget.
Is that right? Pliget?
Yep.
At the Pliget P card program, and it offers a lot of perks or whatever you want to say.
Move.
Second.
Moved to second discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Piento?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
And Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mayor Piento, approving a stipend for the mayor's executive secretary.
Moved.
Second.
Dr. Ruggles.
I guess I'm not clear in the fact that we're doing a stipend, but it's appearing in the wage and salary ordinance.
No,
That's where we're taking it from.
no.
Well, her salary increases by the amount.
But this is.
No, there's two different, that's letter I, or, yeah, letter I.
There's two.
But theoretically, her salary does go up by 2,500 plus the adjustment.
Is it-
No, that's the reason why it's a stipend. It doesn't affect
One-time
his salary. It's a one-time stipend. Doesn't affect his salary.
I thought it's like a bonus.
That's what it is.
But it's still.
For time worked on weekends and nights. In the last 2
No, I'm not questioning. I'm not questioning.
No, I
now.
I understand.
I'm just.
No,
I mean, it does
her-
increase her salary though, in theory, does it not?
No, it will increase her W-2, but it won't increase her salary.
Yeah, it was the wages.
She'll pay
So it's
taxes.
a one time?
Yes.
It is a one time?
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mayor Pianto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
And Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Now we have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Milan where we were actually changing the salary of the executive secretary and the administrative assistant per the mayor's request.
Move.
Second.
Moved in second discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
And Mayor Panto?
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Peter Milan, amending the salary and wage for 2022 for the custodians.
Move.
Second.
Moved in second discussion.
Yeah, were we going to amend this? Based on
Yes.
discussion last night?
Yeah.
What were the final amounts? Do we know?
We were gonna have the amendment?
You. Got you.
Can
Okay,
I have one in? And you said you did.
so we're going to the third year.
What did we discuss last night?
We discussed moving them to $20 and then moving them up to 21, 15, and 23, like the chief has here. Rather than the person who's in that position now would go from the current rate of 17 all the way up to 23. They would both go to 20 because they both have more than 3 years of service.
And then the new hire goes back to that 17.
New hire would go back to 17, right?
I'd be amenable to going to 20 and then giving them the raises that we give that are commensurate with everybody else's every year then, with the administration. That's my recommendation.
Is that starting with 20?
Yeah.
I would go.
Okay, are we
Hold up.
starting at 17?
No, starting at
Hold up.
20 and then tying it to the AFSCME contract.
Well,
What you're saying?
the administration,
The administration's
because
contract.
they report to
Or-
Mr. Campos, don't they?
Yes, administration.
Okay, so the first year is going to be 20?
And then every year after that will be commensurate with the raise that is set by the administration.
Well, I thought that the first year, any new employee would be at 17, so we're gonna flip.
I think you just bump it up.
Okay.
And I think I think you're gonna
I agree.
resolve.
Well, I think that's okay. What you
I'm
can do
agreeing.
is we could have a probationary period. Which
you
we
can.
don't have to
That's your
document.
discretion.
Yeah, I know. So-
But I think you start them at 20,
Yeah, I agree.
and then every year after that, we give them the salary that's commensurate with what you guys give to the administration.
I agree.
Mayor?
Good, I agree. I have no problem with it.
Okay, just so I know, because I have to make it correct. The first year, it's going to be starting at $20
Yep.
now. And then every year, it's just going to be commenced with what the admin gets.
That is correct.
Dr. Ruggles?
Just, Peter, what about new hires?
Same thing.
20.
It's starting at
Start
20.
at 20.
New hires are gonna start.
Yep.
Chief, you have something you want to say? Yep.
Actually, it wasn't resolved. We just, there was no.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm increasing the salary. And then every year after that, we're going to give whatever the raise is for the administration, they'll get that raise then. They're starting at 20 then. But the issue is, though, that if you're going to have a hard time hiring people, if people retire, this could give you a leg up in competition with the private sector then. Because, I mean, even if you just took away the stuff we saw last night that we thought was kind of not really comparable to what we were doing, we're still above the midpoints. It would be perpetuity, that's correct. So if they give a raise of 4% next year, they get 4% then.
And honestly, today's inflation rate, I think 20 is very good. You should start with 20 at least.
Okay.
Rita, you okay with that?
Yeah, I just want to make sure tomorrow morning.
Just call me tomorrow
I got it
morning.
Right, yeah, I don't.
But just for clarity, the starting salary is $20 an hour, and then every year after that they'll get salary that's commensurate with the administration raise. Okay.
Okay,
Just call tomorrow.
will do. Okay, so the vote.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Well, actually, we have to have a motion to amend first.
Yep, hang on a second, sorry about that. Okay, so we need a motion to amend by,
Move.
Second.
Moved in second. Now we can vote on the amendment.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
And Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Now we'll vote on the
The
amended
amended, okay.
motion.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
And Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And we have a resolution being introduced by Mrs. Sultana where she is encouraging hold on a second. The General Assembly of Pennsylvania, the United States Congress, and the United States Senate to use whatever they can use to restore Roe versus Wade through the federal legislation.
I move.
Second.
Moved in second. Discussion?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles? Oh, the
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
presenter?
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I agree with most of this. There are some issues in here that I have, and I think it could be stronger. And I think that there are some parts of it that are kind of abstract, things that I don't really understand what they are. So I just start off with a couple things. First of all, in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th whereas, and this is what I got. It says whereas many people don't know that they are pregnant at weeks.
Yeah.
There should be a number in there, I
should be a
think.
number, yes.
Okay.
6 weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
6 weeks?
And then when you were talking about call upon the General Assembly of Pennsylvania, the United States Congress, and the U.S. Senate. Well, the United States Congress includes the U.S. Senate. It's the House of Representatives and the Senate make up the Congress. So
Right.
you're basically saying U.S. Senate twice here, okay? And the filibuster only occurs in the Senate. So that whole sentence really needs to be reworded in the sense that calling on the Senate to end the filibuster.
I think we already reworded, right, Rita?
No, what
No.
we did was, I think including, let's see, it started Roe versus Wade. The city of Easton calls upon the General Assembly of Pennsylvania, the United States Congress, and the United States Senate to use their power not only to vote for such legislation, but also using resources to pass federal legislation to restore the protective features of Roe versus Wade, including privacy rights and including elimination of the filibuster to accomplish this result. That was at Mr. Shear's,
Yeah, the beginning part, I wasn't looking at. I was just looking at the part about initially the draft was to fight the filibuster, and I thought it should be turned around because you don't really fight the filibuster. It would be a matter of the Senate being encouraged to eliminate the filibuster in order to pass, in the effort to pass legislation to eliminate the filibuster, which is properly just the Senate. I think you could actually read that whole thing that way, and it wouldn't be inconsistent because that is part of the process. You got to get by the House in the first place to get to to be meaningful at the Senate, and then when you get to the Senate to be meaningful, right now you need 60 votes unless you eliminate the filibuster.
Right, but the filibuster isn't in the House.
I know.
Definitely not.
It's a matter of breaking down and restructuring that sentence.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I hear what
Not
you're
right.
saying. Okay, I just was trying to defend the point I was trying to make, which was just that the order of things, because I wouldn't want to fight the filibuster first. I'd first want to get the legislation in, and then address the filibuster. And then, of course, I added my editorial comment that I would like to see legislation about voting rights, but that's neither here nor there.
Different discussion.
Uh,
I know.
Different discussion. And in the very last portion of this, is it our intent to send it to the governor and all state representatives?
Body.
Yeah, I just talked to you about that earlier. I have it ready to go for the governor, Congressman Susan Wild, Senator Lisa Boscola, Senator Robert Casey, and the local state rep, the Northampton local state
Oh, okay,
representative,
okay.
which would be Emmerich, Bobby Freeman.
Okay.
I don't remember off the top of my
So
head.
you gonna do the whole valley? Schweiker, Switer, Peter Switer?
I
Mark
think the only
Schlossberg?
ones I got, I think, was around in the Northampton County area.
Well, you need to send it to Senator Toomey.
Yeah.
Well, Scola's, yeah. And you'll probably get his support. No, you won't.
I mean, we can add to the list.
good.
I just was,
Yeah.
when you didn't really be specific, I just kind of tried to figure out who the local ones were.
We can make a specific list after
Pardon?
we're done. We
Yeah.
can make a specific list.
Okay, that's fine.
The last whereas, I think there should be a two PO added after pregnant.
Becoming pregnant to make choices.
And,
Wait a minute. People capable of becoming pregnant and then to make choices over their own body?
to make choices, yeah. Capable of becoming pregnant, make choices over their own bodies. I think
Toomey.
two
To make.
should be in there.
Okay.
And, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, whereas, I think the, first abortion there should be plural.
Possible being abortions, plural. Okay.
And, I mean, I agree with reproductive choice and reproductive freedom and reproductive care, but I think that those are very abstract and mean something different to different people. And I'm just concerned that, you're sending this to people who are reading it, and when they read it, they look at it and they say, okay, well, the person has their choice in the first 6 weeks. There's reproductive choice. Whereas other people would read it and say, oh, no, you need a longer period of time.
Is it,
I'm just not
is it
sure.
6 weeks? Shouldn't that be like 16 weeks?
Well,
She said-
Ohio
she
said it for
she
6
said
weeks.
it's 6
Yeah, I know
weeks
Ohio
for-
said it for 6
They
weeks.
don't
but
know.
Most people don't know they're pregnant in 6
Right.
weeks.
Yeah, that's
True.
what she said in here. But I mean, Roe versus Wade basically broke the pregnancy down into 3 trimesters.
Trimesters.
Yeah.
So the first trimester, the woman has total control. The second trimester is given to the states to control however they wanted to control abortion in that. And then the third trimester is no abortion. Okay, that's Roe versus Wade. Okay, so in that they in Roe versus Wade they basically took into consideration the woman's rights, and then they also took into consideration the unborn baby's rights. Okay, and I mean, I think that's personally, I think that's something that's missing in this. I think we should have something in there about the unborn baby. I mean, it's in Roe versus Wade, for sure.
What wording would you suggest?
No, I don't want to rewrite it here, but
Right.
I'm just saying I think that should be in here also, because I think that's a very important component, because some people will read this and just think that like the House of Representatives, they proposed having abortions all the way up to delivery. And I think that there's a lot of people that would be very upset with that, and that isn't what Roe versus Wade had. So, I think with these additions, I mean, these changes, I'll call them, I think I'm okay, but I do want to point out the fact that those three terms are very subjective to the reader, okay? And therefore, this can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Can I
So-
take a look, because I don't have a copy?
Sure.
The problem is I don't know what all the changes you want in it, that it was
So
already
it's-
voted on.
So we're gonna hold
Mr.
up.
White-
No, I just suggested, I mean, I can tell you what I suggested, but
Tomorrow morning.
okay. I suggested, in I don't know how many is that, 1, 2, 3.
The fifth
4,
one
5,
said?
Fifth
6,
one, you wanted it
7,
plural,
8th whereas,
okay?
there's
You
no
want,
number there
and-
in weeks, so
and
that
Mrs.
was 6, you said?
Mrs. Sultana, how many weeks do you want in there?
I think I would like to maybe remove this, because there's gonna be a lot of changing on Pennsylvania Constitution too.
Remove that particular whereas,
Yep.
okay? And
That's
then
a good
Roger,
idea.
what's,
And then the other one that I suggested was to add 2 after pregnant in the last whereas.
becoming pregnant, 2, to make choices, okay?
Actually, then in the now therefore, the city of Easton, I think that should be calls plural upon the General Assembly.
I already fixed that.
And, I'm just making suggestions so you can,
Sure.
but I would say just calls upon the General Assembly and the United States Congress, okay? You don't need the U.S. Senate in there, to use their power to not only vote, to vote for such legislation. Well, that was the
But
other
this
thing.
one
I
is
wasn't sure
already-
what that legislation was.
This one also already reworded. So we have a different paragraph, right? Like,
Well, we have the paragraph that, yes,
Yeah,
but you want to
you
take
didn't
out the
address
United
the
States.
beginning of that paragraph.
So you wanted to read, the city of Easton calls upon the General Assembly of Pennsylvania, the United States Congress, and to use their power not only to vote for such legislation, but also using resources to pass federal legislation to restore the protective features of Roe versus Wade, including privacy rights and including elimination of the filibuster to accomplish the result.
I think that'd be
Yep.
fine.
Yep.
That'd be fine, yeah.
Okay
yes.
now?
Mhm.
And then you suggested also adding Senator Toomey to that list.
Yes. But that's not in the resolution, is it?
No, well, it listed in the resolution, it lists,
does
Governor
list,
Tom
right.
Wolf, Congressman Susan Wild, Senator Buscola, Senator Robert Casey, and then just the local state representatives. But if you want Senator
Senator
Toomey
Buscola
added,
is a state representative, state senator. What you want is Casey and Toomey, which
Federal.
are the federal. So yes, Toomey should be added to that.
okay. State Senator Lisa Buscola, you still want State Senator Lisa Buscola, Mrs. Sultana?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then Robert Casey and Senator Toomey. Okay, and then I did the locals. I can go over that list with you. If you want to add anybody, we can. I just kind of did like the
Yeah.
local to here, but it could
Yep.
certainly be added.
Sure. Yeah, this one is the first draft, actually. So we reworded it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion on this resolution?
I just want to give some remarks, Mayor.
Okay, sure.
Hello, everyone. Ever since the overturned Roe v. Wade, we have been dipping into rage and fear over the harsh and unfair ruling. It is truly unfortunate that we have come too far to enshrine the right to choose for few to roll back to the clock. That ruling will not end abortion. So we must ensure that the City of Easton and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania continue to be a haven for reproductive rights. I'm disheartened and appalled and feel very uncertain of our country at the current moment. I cannot imagine the feeling of atrocity for people in those states where they are banned from the right to choose. There is a small group of people who are using their power to control women, children, and everyone else who are capable of being pregnant. And with this vote today and our work, we are using what capacity we have to protect and support them. Honestly, we can't cheer for Pennsylvania to be a pro-choice state anymore, because the Pennsylvania Senate already paved the way to restrict the abortion by approving a bill, SB 160, that would amend the state constitution to clarify it doesn't protect abortion rights. That bill is embarrassing for all the Pennsylvanians on so many levels, by the way. Abortion is a need, and it's something that people will continue to need regardless of Supreme Court ruling or state law. I would appreciate the support of the City Council in this effort. It is crucial that we do everything we can to advocate and protect the right to an abortion in our city and ensure that people control their healthcare decisions. This resolution passes or falls, I commit to using every resource to stand up for women in the face of attempts to restrain them from fundamental rights, and call on our leaders in Congress, Senate, and General Assembly to reverse the impact of this decision and protect a woman's right to choose. Thank you.
Call the question, Madam Clerk.
We already took a vote on it. She was just reading a statement, I believe.
We didn't vote on
We
it.
didn't vote on it.
Sure we did. Yeah.
Ah.
No, we didn't. I apologize. It's bad. Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Pianto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Okay, at this point in the meeting, we're at public comment on any matter. Come up, give your name, address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hello, Kanisa Darby, KHANISA
Okay.
DARBY.
And your address?
118 Northampton Street, the pudding bar.
Okay, your 5 minutes starts now.
Is this 5 minutes new? Just asking.
No.
No.
No? Okay. Also, I wasn't aware of the procedure to use this television here. Does that need to be requested beforehand, or can that be done at the moment?
You can do it. There's a computer there. You have a flash drive,
She
Kanisa?
has,
I have my
She has
own
her own.
computer.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Mazen, you want
I
to
think
assist her?
there's a USB to it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
TV? Go ahead. That one.
While we're getting this together, of course, I'm here about the investigation. Sorry about that. I have one as well. Okay. So I'll put this in.
Did he ever fix this?
Sure.
You can stop the clock.
Sorry. Oh, like a fire. Oh, maybe. Oh. Can you come up? Sorry. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to push that. He's trying to find the files to connect to this. He's better than I am. Oh, yeah, it's up there now. Yeah. It's already on there. Can you go to the play? Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your help.
Rita, you can start.
Clock just started. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. So this is definitely going to take longer than 5 minutes. So I was planning on coming back to the next city council meeting anyway. I definitely don't have the time for this, but when you're fighting for your livelihood and to be heard and for fairness, you just keep pushing. So that's what we're going to keep doing. So I just want to point out that we have not received a, sorry that this keeps moving. We haven't received a copy of what you all have received. Our last, I guess, real correspondence with Lewis regarding the investigation was during the meeting on June 15th. That was, I guess, canceled, but we showed up anyway. And then prior to that, on June 10th, we did get an email. So starting out, I'm just going to say this is factual accounts that have actually happened. This is not in my opinion. And Lewis told us in the beginning of the investigation that we could talk about whatever we wanted to speak about after he was done. So I'm just going to share with you what happened with the investigation on our end. So just to start out, on March 1st, I visited the city due to multiple structural and safety concerns on the property in the recent past. I specifically requested downstairs another inspector other than Charbel, which I touched on this the last time we were here. Dwayne Tillman arrived that day. He agreed with our observations, which you will see. This is confirmed in an email that we received from Lewis. He also found multiple other violations and concerns regarding microbiology present on the drywall ceiling in the basement underneath our floors, corroded wires, exposed wires, uneven and bowing drywall ceiling in the basement, and water intrusion. The floor of the basement was also wet. It was clear. So protecting the interests of the city. This is important because in our first conversation with Lewis after we left here, he said that he has to protect the interests of the city. And that was interesting to us because we didn't see ourselves as being against the city. We felt that we were bringing concerns for the public health and safety of not only ourselves, but everyone else that lives and walks past that building. So protecting the interest of the city kind of perplexed me a little bit, but you know, we had to keep on going to find out exactly what that meant. So the next slide. Okay, and it keeps moving, so I'm just so June 2nd was the first meeting we had, and again, Sean and I came on May 25th to the council meeting. Kanisa and Sean provided detailed accounts and dates to aid the investigation on that day. We were told by Lewis he couldn't provide any information currently as the investigation is ongoing. We spoke of using the right to know request to pull the file and permits, and we also scheduled the next meeting. June 10th, we received an email from Lewis regarding the Lock Ridge engineering report that he mentioned, basically said that everything was fine, and then the city's engineers second that. Lewis let us know that the city's engineers never actually visited our space. They only read Lock Ridge's report and based theirs off of that. I would also point out that we did not receive a copy of the Lock Ridge report either. So the second scheduled closed-door meeting, Lewis didn't have any files for us. There was no violation letters, no, nothing that any of the dates that we mentioned, whether it was January 29th when the window fell off, August 24th when our apartment was closed. He literally provided us no information, just as he gave you guys a vague explanation, because if that was the whole report, I would have definitely have asked for some details. So I'm going to give you some. And please feel free to let me know when the 5 minutes is up, and I'll come back. It'll go off? How much time do I have?
250.
250? Thank you. So this is the law that Lewis evoked. I printed this out because it's super important. This is regarding the release, retention, and sharing of commercial records, which the only way that we can prove that what we're saying is correct is if we have those records. So in the law, in the statute, a building code official shall keep records of all applications received, permits issued, reviewed building plans and specifications, certificates issued, fees collected, reports of inspections, notices and orders issued for all commercial buildings and structures under the Uniform Construction Code. A building code official shall retain these records as long as the related building structure or equipment remains in existence. So everything listed under here is what he's telling us we can't have, okay? So E is what he specified to us. The department and municipality and a third-party agency acting on behalf of the municipality may prohibit the release of applications received, building plans, specifications, inspection reports from the right to know law. So I'm just going to skip through that because I have 5 minutes, but basically it says you may prohibit the release. So I felt this was important to point out because it's also in the statute. They do have in the PA code the difference between shall and may. Shall is where you are, it's an obligation, a duty, or a prohibition. Whenever possible, you shall only in the imperative sense. A duty or obligation is expressed by shall and a prohibition by shall not. The right, power, or privilege, whenever possible, use may, only in a permissive sense. And I made the bottom half bigger because excuse me, I'm overwhelmed, but it applies specifically to this office where a power conferred on a public authority is liable to be construed by the courts as a duty. The word may shall be followed by words such as in his discretion unless may has been expressly defined as being only permissive. So this is a choice. The City of Easton and City Administrator Louis Campos have chosen to withhold public information regarding violations, permits, and full building records. This information is imperative to validating Sean and Canisa's traumatic experiences and business interruptions as evidence of misconduct by city personnel and the multiple building code violations at 118, 120. It makes no sense to me that we come to you with a problem and you don't show us anything. We're giving you information and you're saying, I can't tell you anything, but you can tell me more.
Time, ma'am.
Where does that add up? How can you cross-reference what we're saying? How do you know what is on the violation report versus what is in my phone as factual evidence with dates? So I'm just going to skip through this really quick because I want to touch on it when we get back. The Lockridge Engineering, the report, Post Road is working with them right now on Northampton Street at 537. That blighted reversal that they're doing right now, it's in the Lehigh Valley Live that they are Post Road's current structural engineer. So
Are you almost finished then?
No, I'll be back.
What do you want to do, guys?
I'll be back. I'm going to skip through this so I can show these photos really quick. Right. Yep, you can go after me. So this is one of them. This is a quote from Lewis that Lockridge Engineering said that this is not detrimental to the structure. This is right beneath our floors. These photos as well, right underneath our floors where it's dipping, where no one went with tools or anything to see. If you see 2 inches across 10 feet, any structural engineer online, articles that they write where they're licensed will tell you that you might have a problem with your floor joists, you might have a problem with your rim joists. Lewis doesn't know anything about this. He already told us he didn't really understand the terminology. He's not in codes, which is why we specifically asked why Stephen Narowski or Charbel were not in any of the meetings. We haven't seen them yet. So I just quoted the International Council for Research and Innovation in Building Construction, just the first point. Rim joists are a key structural component, okay? They carry the loads for the building. Skip through. That was the floor. This was Lockridge saying the ceiling below, before they removed it, was fine. But here's microbiology. Here's the holes. This is pipe openings. That's not even allowed. Stucco falling off. This is from an expert. Even without laying eyes on the rim joist, there are a few telltale signs that you might have a problem. First, you might notice that your exterior siding is buckling or cracking. This is a sign that it's slowly sinking. That's not pertaining to commercial buildings, but this is still foundations. This also happened last September. So we got hit with the window, January 29th, window falls off the front of the building. Stucco falls off the side in September. July, we had a huge water damage incident. And all while this is happening, inside of my apartment, the walls are cracking open and splitting out. You're not going to see these. These are photos of the leveler on the floor in our shop. I would love to finesse everything that's on this for you all, but I'm skipping through. If you see this bubble on the left, it's showing you the floor is going this way. Now, here's our main seating. This is from the right, floor sloping this way. This is from there, floor sloping to the right. This is our main seating. I can show you photos with about 20 people sitting in this direct spot. This as well is just a small photo from there. I have about 30 more photos from different angles in different areas that can't fit into this. So I can definitely finish. My husband's gonna come up and go through on his 5 minutes, but the lack of investigation is appalling. It's nauseating to have to go through this. We should not be against the city of Easton. It should be in black and white. Here's the code. Have you even looked into the mechanical and plumbing code violations? I could pull up that statute right now. I'm sure you haven't. So we need to start asking questions about the details that's going on here. And of course, our hands have been tied this entire time because we didn't know anything and we had to wait to see what Lewis was going to say today. So we came prepared. I have a lot more. I just don't have the time to squeeze it all in. And if I had called this meeting myself, I would give you all the information you need in 2 hours so that you understand what's happening here. But since we only have 5 minutes, next week we'll be back with more tenants, current tenants, tenants that have just moved out for issues that we are mentioning here. Thank you for your time.
My name is Sean Darby, also co-owner of the Pudding Bar, 118 Northampton Street, Easton, PA. I'm just going to keep going through this. And then you have the east wall, where nobody's even mentioning this to us. This is what it looks like right now. Well, it's covered by a spray foam, a yellow spray foam. Under that spray foam, they stuffed drywall insulation from a house. This is ridiculous. This isn't even to code. Pests were entering the premises right through these holes into our shop. We have pictures and stuff. We sent the pest control reports to Luis Campos. We sent everything over about all of the work we did to keep these pests out. There was no permit obtained to do these fixes, which is not legal because they had to obtain permits in order to do our ceilings. Only the drywall on the ceilings, when the city closed our store, they had to get permits just to do drywall. So you mean to tell me they could do whatever they want to the side of the building? No. It's in violation of the UCC building code the city of Easton opted into. Lockridge-based report, my wife touched on that. This just shows that he's working with them on this project. How many projects has Post Road hired Lockridge to provide structural engineering services for? We don't know. But did anyone investigate? We probably believe not. This is right here also. Now, in our shop, you could walk in our shop right now. There's 2 sets of brick. In the middle, you see a hole. You can touch the other building. These aren't adjoining buildings. You can go to any construction, go right to those construction guys that's working over there right now and ask them, is this building one? It's not. 118, 120, they're their own thing, and that building is its own building. So you can literally put your hand through there. We have videos of air coming through. It's a mess. Back to square one. This is the last email we received from Dwayne Tillman, dated March 29th. After my walkthrough with Post Road and the engineer on Tuesday, March 22nd, it is in my professional opinion that the structure does not pose an immediate risk to occupy. As per your engineer's opinion, do not allow people in those areas that are in question until a full evaluation on the substructure can be conducted to determine the cause of the dip in the subflooring and partial separation of subflooring and molding. Silence. Dwayne's email prompts Sean and Kanisa to initiate a telephone conversation where explain Lockridge's obvious bias when they aided Post Road's refusal to remove the drywall ceiling in the basement. Dwayne Tillman agrees with the obvious bias. Dwayne Tillman informs then he must speak with elected code official Charbel Corey. Blah, blah, blah. Floors were still blocked off and are still blocked off with no explanation. We haven't received any reports from anybody regarding what's going on with our floor specifically. Everything, it keeps being pointed to the RDA. We don't care. Everything keeps being pointed to the structure. We can prove to you that this is a structural issue. Those rim joists are a structural issue. Louis Campos explains more investigating will need to be done to conduct in light of this information. Said he would not mention the issue at June 22nd's council meeting. Mayor Sal Panto mentioned 2 engineer reports and stated Louis Campos was on vacation is untrue and only continues to demonstrate his own bias regarding 118, 120 Northampton Street. So in all of this time, we have had no answers. We still have not received one answer as to why our floors are sinking in. However, Dwayne Tillman mentioned that our floors, that there's deteriorating rim joists, uneven joists, uneven beams downstairs and under our floor. This is his report. Barry Cohen came on record to the news and said that our floors were softening, and his main concern, this is in there, right, Barry? Here it is, right? No. All right. The Darby's engineer, Barry Cohen, told LehighValleyLive.com his biggest issue was the soft sections of flooring causing someone to trip and fall. That's why Cohen, who works for Allentown-based engineering, recommended the Darby's close off a portion of their shop. So this is recommended. If you look up Barry Cohen, he's a reputable structural engineer in this area. He is, say that one more time? He's certified by the state, and he came out and let us know that our issues in the section in the floor was softening. So that's his biggest concern. His biggest concern. These big gaping holes in the wall, he said there's water intrusion everywhere in this building. What are you going to do to stop this? What are you going to do to stop this issue that keeps happening that's affecting our floor? The rim joist situation is a direct correlation to water intrusion. This is what's going on in this basement. No investigation has ever took place regarding this. We have a video that shows 5 people in our shop not investigating anything with Post Road. They're in there pointing at things. Me and my wife received 2 violations from Post Road that said that it came from the city after we came to the city. That is retaliation. How is the city in our shop looking at things and then pointing out the door and an exit sign that we have proof that we got approved? We had a whole meeting to get this door put in. Borko Malasev himself agreed with it. The city themselves made me put an exit light. That was my money. That was our money that we wasted to put that sign up just to have them get mad and come into our shop and tell us to rip it down because they're pissed off. Talking about egress over there by that door, the egress is all through our shop. What's underneath it? Structural engineer is going to tell you. In order for you to find out what's underneath it, you have to rip the drywall out. Period. Nobody, once they ripped the drywall down, silence. Silence. Nobody came and said, let's take you downstairs. Let me show you what's going on the floor. Post Road Management themselves have not said anything to us. They sued us. We are not at odds with the city. We are at odds with everything that's been going on with Post Road. And then the city came and we tried to get them to help us. And instead they said, F y'all. And this is proven in these stupid reports that we keep coming up here and oh, there's nothing wrong. Lockridge said that there's nothing wrong. Who's Lockridge? Is he Barry Cohen? The person that's appointed to didn't Barry Cohen taught Dwayne Tillman? That was his school teacher. Barry Cohen was supposed to recuse himself because he has too much involvement in this. So what he did was he spoke too much, and he spoke too much to us. And now look at this whole situation, the city of Easton. If you look, we have the last recording when we were in this same space, and we were told that people were just this morning talking about helping us. Since that meeting, has anyone helped us? No. So in that meeting where we were told that somebody was supposed to be helping us, they were just talking about this, just having this conversation with somebody. We asked who. Then they don't know Borko Malasev, but I could show you eight reports of Borko Malasev all in the news around here, and people saying what a great thing it is. We don't got no problem with that. Uplift that man all y'all want, but at the end of the day, not at the cost of the people who are putting the money back into the community, because when you look at that building, they're going to say, the news articles are going to say that they were looking for a local business to put into that location, specifically 118 Northampton Street. A local business. Who better than us? So now that you have it in there, and this business is thriving and does business with the NBA, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, all these places wearing Lehigh Valley style all over. We have an issue, we come to the city, we don't get no response from Stephen Norowski. He doesn't even respond to us. Charbel Corey lies to us, doesn't even let us know we have a gas leak. This is a problem. And if this is not a problem to the city, me and my wife are going to have to take our problems higher up the food chain. Because at the end of the day, this is going to be a problem for somebody when they see what's been happening to us. Because all we're going to do is keep creating awareness. Keep creating awareness. Because at the end of the day, there's no reason for us to be in this type of situation when we have this much proof against these people. It should have been okay. The same way when water came into our space and you closed us down for drywall on the ceiling? Drywall? Really? They didn't fix the floors after that. Are we all in understanding of that? They didn't fix the floors after all of that water. I could show you a video of water pouring down in our shop. They did not touch our floors. So obviously, this is a direct situation that came from another situation. Then you look down there and look under all that drywall, proof, evidence that nothing was done. The RDA, when they did this whole thing with them and they sold them the building and they took all this money from people, they didn't actually fix the building the way that it was supposed to be. And then the code, you can see, right. And in the code, you can see that the code doesn't matter, because how did we get an exit light up, get approved? All of that stuff happened. Stephen actually came to our shop and ate there. People were all in our shop. People from this council eat at our shop. Nobody in the codes department came in there and said, hey, what's that light, that sign doing right there? That's not supposed to be there.
Mr. Darby, your time was up, and I even gave you an extra 5.
I appreciate that, clerk. Thank you. And we'll be back next next council meeting.
There's a question from Dr. Ruggles.
No, I was just saying 2 weeks, not 1 week. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Ruggles. Excuse me. Do I just pop this out? Or no eject first? Just pop it.
Okay, we're still under public comment. Anybody else like to address city council? Name, address, in 5 minutes. No one else? Seeing none? Oh, Mr. Mittman, sorry, Mayor. Sorry, Mayor.
Just squeezed in.
Suicide.
Good evening, you courageous council members.
What's your address?
My name is Phil Mittman.
I got that.
I knew that. 910 Paxanosa Avenue.
Thanks.
But I come to you tonight to share something that you're going to see in 2 weeks, and that is from the Historic District Commission. I'm a commissioner. I thank the mayor for considering the appointment and then appointing me. I do, because we've
You're
worked
up for
hard.
reappointment, so you have to thank council.
Okay, I thank all of the certainly do. On Monday, we dealt with a project that you are probably aware of, Dutchtown Point, and it's on the 6th Street neighborhood. The vote was 3-2 in favor of the project. It's a 4-story and a 5-story, an extra floor, making the 5th floor setting back 23 feet. So the front of the building is 40 feet high. The 23 feet back will be the 5th floor. It has parking underneath. We had, this is the 3rd time we have seen this project, and the improvements have been done. And we, on the Historic District Commission, just to review, we only look at the facade and the improvements, and you have seen some of the good results from the Historic District Commission regarding the Commodore, the new coming up whenever it's ready for the marquee, wonderful project on South Side, which is not the Historic District Commission. So, we thank you for your support of these good projects. There was one abstention. The development will have 34 residential units with 29 parking spaces underneath. You'll see this again when it comes to you.
So that means what, they have 3 handicap?
I'm sure that, I don't know the answer to that one, but I believe that the developer, Mr. Kelsey, who happens to be here tonight, and Jeff Martinson have approached that and need it. One of the concerns we have on the Historic District Commission is that the neighbors expected us and lobbied us to turn it down as though we were the Planning Commission, as though we were the Zoning Hearing Board, and we made it clear we only deal with the facades and the materials of the facade. We don't do the planning part. That's not our bailiwick. What we're having trouble with, and I'll take this up with Mr. Narowski sometime, is the zone. Now here's a scary thought. That zone, which is on the city map, as you'll remember, there was passage of 14 stories high here on the Entertainment Business District downtown. But the zone on 6th Street allows for a 90-foot, 9-story tall building. So while there's no demolition allowed on 4th, 5th, or 6th or downtown, if there's an empty lot like these are, Mr. Kelsey could have gone up 9 stories. So I'm just bringing to you that the vote was 3-2. We approved the project. And to say that the front of the building will be about the same height, 40 feet, as the Two Rivers Brewing. We're also facing, as some of you may know, other buildings coming up Northampton Street, which are being proposed for 6 stories, 7 stories. So I think we ought to consider taking a serious look at whether we want to continue having the zoning we have in what's called a Class C neighborhood. It's just, the downtown area, no other neighborhoods. So for us, that's what we struggled with. It was the 3rd time we'd seen it. The developer and the architect, Jeff Martinson, addressed the issues we had, and we passed it. And we just want you to know that we did that knowing that it was higher than most of the small houses on that neighborhood, but the developer had every right to build that and even higher. So you'll see it, and maybe you've seen these. I'm not here to promote it, but maybe you've seen these. And this is what was handed to us on Monday. We've seen it before. And it's gorgeous infill construction, in the opinion of at least three of us on the Historic District Commission. So that's it, unless you have any other questions for me. Mr. O'Connell.
What were the objections of the people who were not in favor of it?
You know, very good point. It wasn't asked by the chair, Mr. Mittman, Clay Mittman. It was not asked what their objections were. The objections were by Charbel Corey and Barbara Rossi. Diane Havlin, I put forth the motion to approve the project after we had seen everything and discussed it for 2 hours. I put forth the motion. Diane Havlin happily seconded it, and then it went to vote. And so Clay Mittman, Phil Mittman, and Diane Havlin voted for it. Charbel and Barbara Rossi. It's up to you if you want to find that out. I don't know what the answer is to that. But thank you, because you're going to see our COA in a couple of weeks. Okay?
Thanks for your work on that.
Oh, it's been fun and challenging, right, Mayor? Right, all of you? Thank you for appointing me, by the way.
Reader, for that resolution, can you make sure it's under new business, not under consent agenda?
I'm sorry, what?
That resolution for that property, the COA,
COAs usually do go under there.
under
Consent.
consent. Yeah, let's move off of that one off of consent.
Want
then.
that
We'll
one
just put it-
off
yeah.
the consent, okay.
Thanks.
Anyone else like to address city council? Name, address, for 5 minutes? Okay,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
moving second. Moved by Ruggles, second by Sultana. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Pianto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Stay
still. Brown's the only one who wants to go late.
Louis, got a moment?
Yeah, that's true. You're right.